Ah,
Just do it in the privacy of your own home, please.
that's it. This one
I
for you,
will.
Timothy.
Yeah, babe.
I know this is hard for you too, Tiff. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, it's I will say, being with him was very calming. I was in
Mhm.
much worse shape emotionally before I was able to be with him. So that was a good thing.
Yeah,
Thanks, you guys.
certainly.
Yeah, Timothy has a calming presence. I do miss him.
Okay, so we're going to start with a quote from Rumi. Starting at the beginning again, I really find that our practice is not one of progress. The West is totally enamored of making progress, and progress is such an artificial construct. And a lot of the greed in America and the deception is because we're always trying to appear more successful. We got to have a newer, better product. We got to get better bottom line every year. And that's totally against the laws of nature, which are cyclical and are going to go through ebbs and flows. And it pushes us to present ourselves in a way that's not authentic. And so when you look at your practice, you're really going to find that you're going to have ups, you're going to have downs. Um, the 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 difference is that there's going to be each time you go up, it's going to be higher. Each time you go down, it's going to be lower. Each time you're going to have more self-awareness. You're going to have more awareness of the world. So keep an eye on that. Um, so we're starting. Why do we meditate? And Rumi says there's a force within that gives you life. A force within you. Call it what you want. Call it spirit. Call it chi. Call it prana. But the important thing is to have a direct experience of that force. He says, seek that. Seek that force that gives you life. In your body, there lies a priceless jewel. Seek that. Okay, what is that priceless jewel? That priceless jewel is the wisdom that we've talked about of those 20 million bits of information that's processed by the body. It's a connection with the world that's so intense and so rich that it can't even be conceptualized. All it can do is be pointed at, and we're encouraged to get curious about that. It's there. You're not shopping for much enough. As Rumi says, you're just taking a teaspoon out of the ocean and not immersing yourself in it yet. Oh, wandering Sufi, if you're in search of the greatest treasure, don't look outside, look within and seek that. So we begin with this kind of self-interest, as someone once said, all spiritual growth begins with selfishness. It's just starting to get selfish about the right things, the things that are actually going to give you health, the things that are going to give you connection. And so one of Linnell's and my favorite reading, I actually got from a romantic fantasy about people who were immortal, but they were trying to train their newcomers on how to deal with their immortality so they don't become bored after 500 years of being alive. He said, what we do here is give you a crash course in relearning the significance of moments, of minutes. You'll learn the skill of being fully aware, fully present in the now. You'll relearn how to feel your life, how to value experiences, and you'll feel happier and more complete afterwards. Working in the garden, preparing a meal, cleaning up, these tasks may seem repetitive and boring. For someone who is unmindful, they're almost unbearable. We spend most of our time searching for the next huge emotion, the next huge event, huge physical sensation, because after a while, that's all we can feel. But the gift of mindfulness is that you will learn to value every moment that your hands are immersed in. To see and smell each weed that you pull, to feel the hard smoothness of a turnip, to really taste the earthy greenness of its leaves, to be within your own skin without wanting to run around screaming, to enjoy yourself, value yourself, and know yourself. And once you do that, you'll be able to love, to really love someone else. So we're pointing again and again to the importance of being in this moment, and everything's to be gained. And it sounds so simple, but I thought I'd start with a classic by Jack Kornfield on taking the one seat. He starts out, spiritual transformation is a profound process that doesn't happen by accident. We need a repeated discipline. So, I can't find my place, I'm sorry. Because I'm looking in the wrong place. It says, when we first undertake the art of meditation, it's indeed frustrating. Inevitably, as our mind wanders and our body feels the tension it's accumulated and the speed to which it's addicted, we often see how little inner discipline, patience, or compassion we actually have. It doesn't take much time with a spiritual task to see how scattered and unsteady our attention remains, even when we try to direct and focus it. While we usually think of it as our mind, if we look honestly, we see that the mind follows its own nature, its own conditions and laws. And seeing this, we also see that we must gradually discover a wise relationship to the mind that connects it to the body and the heart and steadies and calms our inner life. The essence of this connection is the bringing back our attention again and again to the practice we've chosen, whether it's prayer, meditation, repeating sacred phrases, or visualization. Anything that gives us a systematic way to focus and steady our concentration. So this is the beginning of the whole practice, is that capacity for single-minded focus. And in mindfulness, we use the present moment and the breath as the point of our focus, not something external. But whether the practice calls for questions, prayers, whatever, or simple meditation on the breath, it always involves a steadying and conscious return again and again to some focus. And as we learn to do this with a deeper and fuller attention, it's like learning to steady a canoe in waters that have waves. Repeating our meditation, we relax, sink into the moment, deeply connecting with what is present. We let ourselves settle into the spiritual ground and train ourselves to come back over and over again to this moment. For some, this task of coming back 1,000 or 10,000 times may seem boring or even of questionable importance. But how many times have you gone away from your life and then wondered where it went? In this way, meditation is very much like training a puppy. You put the puppy down, say, stay. Does the puppy listen? No, it gets up and runs away. So you set the puppy back down, stay, and the puppy runs away over and over again. Sometimes the puppy jumps up, runs over and pees in the corner, or makes some other mess. And our minds are much like the puppy, only they create even bigger messes. And in training the mind or the puppy, we have to start over and over again. When you undertake a spiritual discipline, frustration comes with the territory. Nothing in our culture or our schooling has taught us to steady and calm our attention. One psychologist has called us a society of intentional spastics. Finding it difficult to concentrate, many people respond by forcing their attention on their breath, their mantra or prayer with tense irritation and self-judgment and effort, or worse. Is this the way you would train a puppy? Does it really help to beat it? Concentration is never a matter of force, and I'm going to say that again because you type A personalities are going to try and get this thing, and it's not something you're going to get. It's not something you're going to do. The harder you try, the farther away you get. It's simply a matter of allowing yourself to land in what's here and stop the doing, stop the compulsive, understanding the moment, and actually experience the sensations in depth. And I'll tell you this story. This was Ajna's favorite. Developing a deep quality of interest in your spiritual practice is one of the keys to the whole art of concentration. Steadiness is nourished by the degree of interest with which we focus our attention. Yet to the beginning student, many meditation subjects appear plain and uninteresting. There's a traditional story about a Zen student who complained to his master that following the breath was boring. So the Zen master grabbed the student and held his head underwater for quite a long time until the student struggled to come up. And when he finally let the student up, the Zen master asked him whether he had found his breath boring in those moments under the water. Puts things in perspective. So when we talk about, I love a phrase from Song of the Soul by Chris Williamson. It goes, "Come to your life like a warrior. Nothing will bore you. You can be happy." Okay, when we sit, we're sitting with that kind of focus. We're sitting with that kind of steadfastness. So we've been doing these things about the mountain. I've talked about how you need to get grounded. You need to feel that connection to the earth. So for beginners, the first thing we're going to do is take the seat. Actually feel yourself sitting on your cushion, sitting in your chair. Feel your energies connecting with the earth energies, okay? So that's going to give you that kind of rootedness. I'm here, I'm in the present moment, and I'm meditating. So intention comes out of third chakra, that ability to stay and steady yourself. So we're really working, for any of you who use a chakra model, in steadying those lower chakras, and they're always wanting to go off and chase this and chase that and avoid that. And instead, we're training him to come back this moment, this moment, this moment. What's supposed to happen? Nothing's supposed to happen. What's supposed to happen or is going to happen is your mind is going to wander. Like he said, you're going to see how unsteady it is. And that's what you're going to watch. Okay? That's a very important thing to get, as to how unsteady, how undisciplined you are. Now, the thing that you're going to find is that when you do hard things, it gives you a reward in your brain center. You're actually strengthening your prefrontal cortex. And what's your prefrontal cortex? That's the place where your executive function functions, where you can actually hold a course in your life. So you're doing neural reprogramming every minute that you sit here, every moment that you bring yourself back. Plus, it boosts your self-esteem. I did something that was difficult today, and any runner who gets up every morning, straps on their shoes, regardless of the weather, knows what I'm talking about. Every mom who gets up and does the 2 o'clock feeding knows what I'm talking about. This is the way character is built. We don't associate character with spiritual growth, and yet people who don't have this capacity are not going to be successful. It's the single primary indicator, is your capacity over and over again to come back to something that's difficult that the mind wants to run away from, okay? to not chase what it wants to grasp after. So what we're going to do is simply watch the mind do that. It's like watching a puppy. What's the puppy supposed to do? I don't fucking know what the puppy's supposed to do. We're going to tune in today and see what puppy we've got. Okay, so we're going to go again. Enjoy your puppies. As I say, every time I sit, it's a shit show, and I really love them. It's like Monty Python on hallucinogens. So have a good time. Enjoy
How long?
as long as I want to.
Okay.
Don't worry about the time.
Not worried about the time. Mr. Timer.
I'll bear that burden because I love you. Oh, wait. Is that Bentley? Okay, people still getting. By the way, Bentley, thank you for that reading. Whether you know it or not, it was exactly perfect for something that I've been working on in this new type of meditation I've been doing. So it was, you don't know how grateful I am for it. It was perfect.
I'm so happy.
So this is the time for questions and comments. We have a lot of people who are relatively new. And so we haven't been engaged discussing fundamental practices. So for example, ringing the bell, why do we do it 3 times? And one of the things that you'll discover is you hear the first bell and you go, okay. And by the second bell, you go, oops, where was I? Because I'm already gone. I'm not even there really for that bell. And then again, when the third bell comes, I'm surprised. So that's an invitation to come back to the present moment, to begin to kind of train yourself with a little external help to come back to the moment. Now, the final bell, why do we do it 2 times? The first time is to call you back because again, you're probably somewhere wool gathering. You'll discover that your discipline, your meditation wanes when your physical stamina begins to wane. So the shakier your body gets and the more aches and pains are hollering at you, the less able you are to focus on the present moment. So we're calling you back. Okay, come back. So you'll notice all those guys, where am I? And the reason we put our hands together and bow, you're not bowing to me or to the Buddha or anybody. You're bowing in gratitude for the opportunity you had to sit for 20 minutes uninterrupted and to work on your spiritual discipline. So there's always inherent in this a real sense of gratitude for the Sangha and gratitude for the teachings, gratitude for the opportunity and the way that is here for us. So that may help you with that. So questions, comments?
The puppy was busy.
Yeah. Sure. The
The puppy she had a busy morning. My comment.
always. Okay. So it's not what we think. What we think is the puppy is going to go away. Puppy's not going to go away because the puppy is a part of your brain called the default network. And the way the default network gets triggered is that you stop and you don't do anything. And the minute you try to do nothing, your brain gets busy trying to anticipate future problems and come up with solutions for them. That's what it's designed to do. Okay, and so most of us has been our entire life entertaining that part of our brain. Now, every time you entertain it and take it seriously, you're reinforcing those neural pathways. So we have a very well-trained default network. America runs on its default network. We sell you things. We keep you in constant fear of the future so that part of your brain is in control. So it comes in, here it is. Whoa, look at my mind doing that. Now I don't want to do it. The more you fight with that, the more you're stuck to it. So if you try to ignore it, again, there's no effort in meditation. You try to ignore it, it will stay around. What you resist persists. Fundamental axiom of spirituality. So you don't want to engage it. You don't want to take it seriously. You don't want to go down the rabbit hole and try and figure that problem out. You just want to watch the puppy going, trying to get your attention, and just like a puppy, we're going to ignore it. Okay, we're going to come back to our breath, back to our focus. Okay. So there's nothing wrong because that's happening. That doesn't mean, as a matter of fact, if you told me, oh, my puppy didn't bother me, I'd know that you were in denial. You probably weren't there. But if you told me, yeah, my puppy was real active and it was kind of neat because I was able to ignore it for at least 2 minutes out of 20, I'd go, wow, I'll let you be my teacher.
You know what was neat about it? I was able not to hit it, to beat myself up for it because of the analogy that you gave with the puppy. I wouldn't do that to a puppy. Why do that to myself? So thank you.
No, thank Jack Cornfield.
Uh-huh.
It was a brilliant analogy. Yeah. Anybody else? You see what Gaylin is doing? Gaylin's indulging her default network right now. What is that? What's your fur baby, Gaylin? A Siamese or no puppy? There it is. Okay, anybody else?
Look.
Not to beat the puppy analogy to death, but when I had a puppy, I had my cushion and he had his cushion, and I would take him to his cushion, tell him to lie down and to stay. And of course, that worked for about barely a minute. And I would sit down on my cushion and I would meditate, and he would come over and try to get in my lap. He would run around. But I can say that years later, I don't remember how many, he would go, oh, okay, it's nap time. And he would get onto his cushion and he would just go to sleep. So I don't know if that's the taming of the puppy, but I think that if I was going to try to drag an analogy out of this, I would say that with experience, as we gain more experience with sitting and coming back, bringing our attention back to whatever it is where our focus is, it becomes easier. And I'm not suggesting that we should go to sleep, but that the puppy does get used to the idea. And, Hugo would say, oh, okay, it's time to meditate or take a nap, since he didn't know the difference. And he would just go and do that. So for us in meditation, it becomes easier as we progress, I shouldn't use the word progress, but as we have more experience with sitting every day, it just becomes more more natural and a little easier to do. And it's just coming back. It's just the constant coming back. It's not how long you can stay focused. It's how often you can come back.
Right. So Sharon Salzberg would say, if you wake up and realize you've drifted off, that's enlightenment. That is the moment. All right. So imagine that as a little pearl. And the first time you sit, you get one little pearl on your necklace. Well, you start stringing pearls together is what happens. You wake up more often. Now I had 2 or 3 periods of being awake in 20 minutes, then 20. That's all progress. And you're exactly right, Channy, in that is that you're going to get out of your brain what you put into it. I just studied jazz guitar in Chicago for a while, and I never practiced in between sessions. The only practice I got was when I was taking my lesson. And I said, this is a waste of my time, because I'm not putting in the effort it's going to take to benefit from the instruction. So the more we do this, the more we're training our brain to want to land in the present moment. All right. And then the calmer we are, the more we're not activating the monkey mind. So we're beginning to build a positive spiral out of the hole. Does that make sense to people? Mm-hmm. the more you can come back to the present, the less time you're spending catastrophizing, less time you're spending catastrophizing, or you're in the present calmer, the more you're present calmer, less you're activating that default problem solving.
One of the things that really helps is intention.
Yes.
When you sit down to meditate, take a moment and express your intention. My intention is for the next 20 or 30 minutes or however long, I'm going to meditate. I'm going to keep my attention on my breath or whatever, my mantra, whatever it is. And if you set that intention in your mind, it also, I think, helps to bring you back, because you can say, wait, what's my intention again? Why am I sitting here? Am I just wasting my time? No, I'm sitting here because I have the intention and the aspiration to be mindful of my breath.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Jesus said that is you can't serve two masters. And what he meant by that is you can't sit and indulge your greed and indulge your resistance to discomfort and have peace. Because the more you're practicing avoiding discomfort and pursuing pleasure, the more you're not practicing being in the present moment. So having that desire to stay here, that's that single-minded focus that we're trying to develop. And that will begin just by its very nature to dissolve the attachments and the resistances that we have. So that's why we just spend all that time learning how to root and ground ourselves here, so we're not swayed by these things when we get on the cushion. Temptation is going to be there. That's what the symbolism of the devil is, the tempter, the liar, the deceiver, the voice that tells you that right is wrong, wrong is right. I have a right to this because I want it. I get to avoid this because it's uncomfortable. Yeah, that's what's going to get you off the path. No, what's the path? Sit.
My,
Temptation. Yep.
my greatest problem is that I can resist everything except temptation.
Oh, duh. Yeah. Okay, Corinne, you started to reach at one point. You still got something to say, girl? Or were you just flipping me off? I can't hear you.
You're still muted.
Okay.
There.
Nope.
Oh, you still can't hear you.
Well, why not? I mean, I'm unmuted.
We got it.
Hello. I actually didn't want to say anything, but now that you ask, I was thinking of that analogy of the roller coaster, sitting in the front of the roller coaster with your hands up or sitting in the back. And then I was thinking about not resisting your discomfort and how you have to sit in the front of the roller coaster not to resist your discomfort. So that's what I was thinking.
So we'll get some more into the kind of qualities that we're cultivating, the side benefits of sitting that you don't anticipate, like neurologically, the fact that you're getting a neurological reward, the fact that you're building neural pathways back to the present. This is what's actually going on. So we can dress it up in whatever kind of traditional language you want to, but the bottom line is you're fundamentally rewiring your brain, right? You're using your brain, you're learning how to meta-program your brain. So it's been programmed in my 12-step lectures. I used to say, second step is came to believe a power greater than you can restore you to sanity. Okay, well, that implies that there are powers greater than you that made you crazy to begin with. And there are, okay? That's what we mean by the conditioned mind. So we're learning to look at what society has trained our brain to do. You can't take responsibility for that, people. You can't blame yourself for your own conditioning. The conditioning started when you were a vulnerable child, very open to suggestibility, which is what a trance state is. So what they told you was true about yourself, what they expected, you embody. You came to think that's how the world works. That's how I'm supposed to be. That's who I really am. And you've unconsciously been playing that. You're not consciously making these choices. We can watch your brain make these choices for you and then say, oh, Linnell, here's what you just chose. Oh, thank you very much. So we begin to expose that process, which is why I love that scene in Matrix when they unjack him from the sensory deprivation tank and pull him out, and all of a sudden he's in the real world and it's nothing like where he's been. Well, that's kind of what we come into, realizing about ourselves. Matthew was just had a comment. He said, I was looking at a tree going, God, those are some funny colored leaves. And he realized it wasn't tree, it was pollen dust. But he said, I never realized trees did that before. That's a sign that he's getting in the present moment. Every other spring he's experienced has been that matte painting. This is kind of the blob for a tree. Now all of a sudden he's actually seeing the tree pollen. Whoa, that's intense. So think about the fact that's what we're doing. We're talking about awakening the senses. Oh, I actually see what's in front of me. That's the miracle. Whoa, I saw spring this year. Good. Does this make any sense to you? Is that
So when my oldest was in third grade, we found out I was rather devastated by this.
Okay, you froze for a minute, Cherry.
Repeat.
We took
Nope.
You're freezing.
Okay, I think my internet connection is screwed up by the storm. But anyway, so I took him and we picked up the glasses and we were going to a friend's house and he wouldn't put them on. And he's in the van and he wouldn't put them on. And then he decided to put them on. And he said, Mom,
Of course,
they're not all fuzzy. I can see the leaves and the branches on the trees as we're going past. And I think of that analogy all the time.
It's a good one.
Yep. Absolutely. Okay.
If I could offer something else with the roller coaster, about the roller coaster, it's slightly a shift, but I worked with a woman whose daughter was bipolar, and with bipolar, you're just constantly up and down. 1 minute you're so excited, you're full of energy, and you're talking about all the things you're going to do, and the next minute you're depressed. So Maria was having very difficult intestinal problems because of the stress this was causing her. She was constantly up and down with her daughter. And I said, how about if you think of your daughter as being on a roller coaster and you are on the ground watching the roller coaster? You might be, surprised or a little bit fearful and whatever, but you're not on the roller coaster. You're just watching it. And that seemed to really help her, because when she found herself with her stomach all upset and her heart pounding because she was so involved with her daughter, she remembered to step back, zoom out, and watch the roller coaster and not be on the roller coaster. So it's a little bit of a shift from your roller coaster example, but it might be helpful for somebody. If you're watching a friend or a family member go through something very difficult, take that step back and watch them on the roller coaster. Just watch them. It's a movie. you don't have to be on it or in the movie.
Right,
Good one.
right. Okay, let me just say two things in response to that. First of all, when you actually get back in touch with your body, you're going to look bipolar. What is unnatural is to be in the same emotional state constantly. That means your vagus nerve is stuck and frozen. All right. So the problem is that we think we have bipolar when we're starting to get healthy. Oh, 1 minute I'm laughing, the next minute I'm crying. If it's based on what's going on in front of you, that's extremely appropriate. That is not bipolar. We're made to move up and down through extremes. And you watch enlightened people, they're not like you think they are. They swing up and they swing down, but it's always in relation to what's happening, okay? The same way, those of you who are over 50, you are not fucking senile because you forget things. I get tired of correcting people. I send out a thing saying, here's what senility looks like. If you've just repeated the same comment 5 times to people, that's a sign of senility. If you forget somebody's name, that's stress. Like, we don't understand that stress causes you to not transfer things to your short-term memory. So, and it's a normal side of an aging brain to not be able to remember. Well, look at all the things you've accumulated in your file system. So let go of the, oh, I'm emotionally unstable. Oh, I have mood swings. Oh, I can't remember things. God, how much self-hate is involved in that analysis to try and pigeonhole yourself as somebody who's sick? I'm reading a thing saying we are becoming a culture which goes to doctors all the time. I got a radiology appointment. I'm going, why am I going to the radiologist? I mean, the cardiologist. I said, I don't have a heart problem. I only went because I needed surgery and I had to get cleared. Well, then he gives me an appointment. We'll see you again in a year. I didn't have a heart problem, but I'm going to see him. So begin to check how much our culture invites you to label everything that you're going through. Begin to sit back and watch that you're full of crazy rhythms, just like the world around you, okay? And you're up and you're down and you're down and you're up. What makes it pathological, and for those of you who don't know this, it is not a disease to be gay. It's a disease to be gay and not want to be gay. It's a disease to hate people who are gay, okay? That's the same way with your brain. What you're looking at is not the problem. It's the way you relate to what you're doing that becomes the problem. I'm not saying this to open things up, to begin to say, don't need to judge, don't need to criticize, don't need to control. The more you fight it, the more you're stuck. So watch a movie called The Horse Boy. It's about a kid who's autistic and he has these rages. Family can't control him. They're very wealthy. He's a cinematographer from Australia and she's a Los Angeles socialite. And they're living in Austin on a horse farm and they're humiliated by his tantrums out in public. So he travels to Mongolia to find a horse shaman because the kid only gets calmed down when he's riding a horse. So they get to the horse shaman and they end up beating the mom with a whip, trying to drive out the demons of her mom, who's riding her like an evil spirit, all this kind of stuff, which was great. But they say, we can't fix him. We're sending you to the reindeer shaman. He's the guy who's got the real shit. So they get up there. They manage to catch him. They're only in this pasture for 4 weeks out of the year. And they catch the guy. He says, I'll take a look at the kid. So he looks at the kid for a year. He says, I don't know what this thing you call autism is. He says, all I can tell you is that if he was in my tribe, I would take him on as my apprentice. Okay, hear what I'm saying. Here's a kid, Western society, diagnoses having severe autism. He diagnoses him as being a shaman who can travel the other worlds, all right? What are we seeing? How is what you're seeing affecting the way you're treating the people around you? the way you're treating yourself. And I won't tell you the rest of the story, but the point is, we're a world that's trained to see pathology, to see problems. They're not there, folks. You're not there. Ease up. Learn to see clearly, okay? So with that in mind, yeah. When I talk like this, it scares the shit out of Linnell. That's okay.
Take a deep breath in.
Okay.
I left you something in the chat because I have really bad internet. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Love you.
Thank you, Bentley.
Hey, take care.
Love you guys. I'll send all
Bye.
the love to my daddy.
Yeah,
Yes,
Yes,
all
indeed.
of our love.
I
I
was
will.
lifting him up
I
while we've
will.
been here, so.
Okay.
Love, love, love.